I'd like to call to order the Building Trades Board meeting for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Paul here.
Here.
Heidi Walker.
Here, it's Heidi Hales Walker, but yes, I'm here.
Francis Dalton.
What, here?
Bob Warner. Here. Randolph McDown.
Here.
Nick Schultz.
Here.
And Mary Fiker.
Here.
Now, does that count to introduce everybody?
Yes.
Okay, here we
It
go.
works for me.
How you all doing?
Good.
All right, we need to do a disclosure if anybody has had any ex parte communications about any of the cases on the agenda tonight.
No.
Nope. Nope.
Let the
No.
record show that there is none. Can we have approval of the minutes from the last meeting in January 25th, 2024?
I move to approve the minutes from 2024, January 25th.
And a second?
I'll second.
The motion carries? Or approval carries?
Paul here.
Yeah, you guys will now just confirm that you've approved
Oh.
the meetings. He'll call the roll.
Paul her.
Here.
Heidi Walker.
Yeah,
Heidi
or-
Hales Walker.
Yes.
Here.
Or
Francis Dalton.
Here.
Bob Warner. Yes. Randolph McDown.
Here.
Nick Schultz.
Here.
Mary Fiker.
Yes.
the motion is approved.
We're going to do the swearing in. Please stand and raise your right hand. In the matter to which you're about to give testimony, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The witnesses have been sworn in.
Okay, there is no old business to talk about here, so we're going to go straight to new business. The first case will be BLD 000021-2025, 437 Sheldon Street.
Okay, I have some photos. I visited the site today, so I'll submit these so you can review them to see that there's actually been no change, and then I'll give you a little background on the case. So this case number is BLD-000021-2025. The property location is 437 Sheldon Street. The
437 or 1437?
437.
Okay.
And the zoning of the property is R3, single-family residential. The violation cited is City Code Article 10, Section 26-796. On June 17th, 2025, during a site inspection at an adjacent property, I noticed that the property had a lot of rotted wood on the front porch, fascias falling off from the roof area, causing rot to and exposing wood. Foundation has some cracks and the roof appears to be sagging. I sent an email to building official Steve Woodworth and had requested that he conduct a site visit as well. On July 24th, a site visit was conducted by Steve Woodworth, verifying the condition as mentioned above on the property, and that repairs and alterations are feasible and reasonable to remedy the condition of the building, and it could be restored. The notice of determination, notice of hearing was mailed on July 25th, 2025. Certified mail stated that they had 30 days from the mailing date to complete an application to repair the property or demo. It would be there up to them. A copy was also posted on the property on July 29th, 2025, and the certified mail was returned to the city. The original hearing was set for September 25th, 2025, which was canceled due to lack of enough members for a quorum. So a new notice of hearing was sent out on October 23rd, or for the October 23rd hearing, with a copy of the notice of determination. And the certified mail was mailed October 1st, 2025, and was accepted on 10/2025, and the property was also posted with the new notice of hearing. with the pictures that I submitted today, they are taken from today, so I did do a site visit today. And the property owner is Adele Montague. We have not had any contact with her. So I don't believe Steve has had any contact with her as well. So what we're basically looking for is for permits to either rehab the property, or if she so chooses, is to demo the property. So I'll let Steve come up and give a little bit of background, and then the next hearing for this case would be January 22nd, 2026, because typically the first hearing we give 60 days for them to have time if they need a structural engineer or what kind of drawings and stuff that they would need to submit to the city. They do need some extra time.
So I know we've had a long time since our last meeting. It doesn't look like this is probably the first time this has been up on the radar. Has this been sitting in this condition for a long time?
No, they have taken care of it off and on throughout the years. That's why it's boarded up. We have been in contact with them through code enforcement. We actually recently went over and mowed the property. So they do have a nuisance abatement lien that will be filed on this property for the mowing that the city has done. So it's been on code radar for a while. They do the minimal to try to keep the property decent, to kind of keep us away from them. But this last time, they didn't respond at all. So that's kind of why we did the nuisance abatement and the building trade hand in hand.
So is it the request of staff that this gets delayed, or, I mean, y'all are boots on the ground, a little bit more involved. I get the boarding it up and keeping the fence up and, trying to keep it clean, but it looks like that's a far cry from maintaining it. It looks like there's a tremendous amount of hazard surrounding this property.
Well, I think just a little bit of the background, there's a couple of other houses surrounding it that homeless people have set up homeless camps. We recently got rid of one of those, and the house 2 doors down from this one has been totally rehabbed with permits, new roofing, painting, and everything. So a lot of the damage that has been done to this property is from the surrounding home that there was a lot of traffic in and out of. And again, the roof and stuff had started sagging over the years probably, but a lot of the boards were rotted on the porch, but I think some of the traffic in and out, we've actually seen sleeping bags and all kinds of stuff there. I believe the homeless, we have a police officer that's designated to homeless camps and such. They, I believe, have also visited the property. So it's been a lot of city effort. And then, so this is kind of our last.
Yeah, unless for some reason we're not allowed to at this juncture, I'm willing to make a motion to condemn and tear down. I just see it as being a hazard and a nuisance, and quite frankly, putting this meeting off until January seems pointless. I consider this to be kind of a nuisance, and it looks like every effort's been made, so I'm going to make a motion to condemn.
I still have questions
So
about this, so.
just procedurally, we still need to hear the building official's report. Might I suggest we hear that before we start jumping in,
Yeah.
discussing facts and other things, just to
Sure.
get the rest of the information out.
Yeah, I mean, because if we're having a problem contacting the owner,
She did accept the certified mail?
Oh, she did.
Or someone did on her behalf,
okay, I
should
didn't
say.
know that. I know you said it
Yes.
was returned, but I did not know if it was signed.
No, I believe this one was accepted. The first one was returned to the city, and then when we reissued the new notice of hearing for today's hearing, that one was actually accepted on October 10th.
Okay.
Barbara, when was the notice given out for the September meeting to her?
To the same owner.
No, when? Before the September meeting?
Oh, that was done back in July.
Oh, so it's been many months then now. Okay.
But when the initial notice that we have to give them for this board is 30 days.
Okay.
So we have to give them 30 days up front, and then typically that 30 days, depending on where the meeting falls, they almost end up with 2 months. It's the same situation we have with code enforcement and special magistrate cases as well. so we'll have Steve give you a little bit of background,
Okay.
and then we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. No, I was just going to say, I think we do need more information.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Building Trade Board.
Hello.
My
Good
name
evening.
is Steve Woodworth. I am the building official. For the record, I am a state licensed building official, building plans examiner, and building inspector. I am also an ICC certified property maintenance inspector. I visited this property on July 23rd of 2025 after being notified by code enforcement that we had a deterioration problem with the building. I observed the building on all four sides from the exterior. It appears as though this is a wood frame structure. It does have a pier and stem wall foundation, which appeared, to the best of my ability to observe, still serviceable. The porch facing the west side has the greatest amount of damage on the building. Unfortunately, that is the road-facing facade, and it does appear to be quite dilapidated and could be considered a blight to the neighborhood. The main part of the structure behind that porch is sound. I have not entered the building, so I couldn't say about the damage on the inside, but all the exterior walls are true and straight and level, and the roof, while it is sagging, does not appear to be compromised at this time. It is my opinion that if the property owner so wished, this property could be repaired to be habitable. It would be feasible. With that being said, they appear to be out of town and have not yet contacted the building department to make these repairs that would be necessary to return this structure to a serviceable condition. There is a shed addition on the east side, which would be the back of the house facing Sheldon. I would recommend that just be removed. It looked like it was poorly constructed when it was constructed, likely serving as a laundry room or some kind of attachment, given the age of the building. That would be my guess, but I don't know as I have not been inside. Questions?
Do you have record of when the last time the electric was on? Is that,
I do not, sir.
No.
The utility services were not on at the time of the
yeah, there's no
inspection in
meter
July.
installed, so. Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion?
And just to address one of the things that was raised on the dais, procedurally, we do have to give them notice. That's part of the due process. Give them the opportunity to remedy it. They may choose to do so, as one of the other homes on that street apparently was, or they may choose not to, in which case, when this comes back before the board, that would be an appropriate time to continue forward, depending on staff's recommendation at that time.
So it's suggested then to give them time till the January 22nd, 2026 hearing.
That was staff's recommendation, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I move to give them the opportunity until January meeting
So,
For what?
to rectify the situation.
so the motion could be phrased, I move to accept staff's recommendation
Okay.
and give them until
January 22nd.
January 22nd, 2026.
Okay.
That's the only motion that can be raised.
Based on the evidence that's been presented tonight and following due process,
I mean,
you
they,
could pick a later date. You could ask staff about other dates to meet, to have that follow-on conversation as well.
Can you add a caveat? Like if you don't hear from them at all, then it would get condemned at that meeting, or?
We'll still have to obviously come back and have that hearing and that meeting. If you want to discuss and choose a different date, we're in, October now? So
Yeah,
we'd have to
there
meet in
is-
November or December of this year.
are we going
You-
to have meetings in November and December?
We do
No.
have, there is a meeting that's set up for, I believe it's December 3rd for building trade, so you could possibly bring it back to the December 3rd, December of this year, because whatever the decision is made today, an order will be mailed, certified mail, to the property owner. So they should receive it. They're in Miami, I believe. If they accept it, the property will be posted either tomorrow or Monday, so, which is part of the due process. So it's possible to bring it back to December. You could give them the month of November to contact the city and bring it back to December 3rd.
So is the December 3rd the next meeting, or January 22nd, 2026 the next meeting?
We have on the calendar December 3rd, because if it would have been in November like it should have been, we would have been here Thanksgiving, and I don't think anyone wanted to do that. So I believe we voted last year, the board voted when we brought in a calendar like we did today. I believe everyone agreed to move it to the December 3rd date. So that is an option.
Kind of do have a few follow-up questions, and we're open caucus here, but I didn't get my answer before, so I want to go back to that. I want to be heard. I'm a little confused. We're talking about year plus in to staff and maintenance into this property with a cost and a detriment to the city. We're mowing and maintaining the yard sometimes, and the police are having to frequent the property to remove homeless camps. And we want to go ahead and extend this out 120 days potentially.
But she said the homeless camps are
Heidi, if you
around the
wouldn't
corner.
mind in the future, if you'll let me finish my sentence
Oh, I'm
before you
sorry, I
start
thought
talking.
you did.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to get some clarity. We've had multiple discussions in the past with this board in quorum about one side of this panel has to be conservative, one side has to be liberal, or it's skewed. And this sounds idiotic to put this out until 2026, given the condition of the property. It would be different if the homeowners were present and here making an appeal or communicating with staff to try to maintain this property. This is no different than if you love your dog, but you never show up and feed it and water it. Love alone, or the desire to be a good property owner, and then living in Miami while we have our children and our constituents and our people in this town living around it. This is a nuisance. It seems a little odd to put this off 60, 90, 120 days. Thank you very much. Those are questions I have, but I would like to know, what is it the staff is recommending? Are you guys wanting us to give an extension of 3-4 months, or what is the recommendation of staff currently?
Well, of course, it's at the caveat of the board to make the decision. With that being said, the staff feels as though the property can be saved and salvaged. The property is currently fenced and boarded, and it does not oppose or propose what would be considered an attractive nuisance to passersby. And for that reason, it doesn't appear as though it was harboring vagrants at time of inspection. And therefore, my opinion would be to salvage the property rather than level the property at this time. It may be, I mean, again, I wish the property owner was here because I would love to, work this out with them, but it may be that you don't want to go 60 days, and you're welcome to bring it back December 3rd.
So in January, if we wait and put this off to a vote in January, and we still don't have a response from the homeowner, then what's the process at that point?
I can defer that to the city attorney, but I believe you could cause for condemnation at that point, could they not?
Correct. Staff could recommend that based on the lack of response, building integrity, et cetera. Make that recommendation, the board could approve.
Sure.
But aren't we already at a lack of response? And maybe I misunderstood this. This is the point of asking questions. How many notices have you sent them?
For building trade, this is the first one. For nuisance, the city has only maintained it this one time. In the past, they have come in and cleaned up the property. That's how it got boarded up. They did react to the notice violation that was originally sent. No fine was imposed at that time because they did react to the notice of violation. This is the first time that they have not responded to take care of the property. I do know that The latest notice was accepted. They have not contacted the city, but again, there has been effort made in the past. This is the first time no effort has been made since I've been dealing with the property.
I get it. That's helpful. I thought there was a notice and they responded, but we didn't have quorum, and then there was another notice, so I thought we had noticed them twice.
We had to re-notify them because the first hearing they were
Okay.
scheduled for was canceled. That was no fault of the property owner. So that's why we had to, that's part of the due process as well.
Yeah, and I understand the passion for our town, and I understand the passion as a person that built things. Like, I see your point. The house is likely salvageable. And that feels bad to say tear it down, but you guys should maybe think about that in the photos you take, because what I'm seeing is a broken fence and a hazard for children in this picture, and none of the other pictures showed security to me in the review.
We're also limited to where we can go. The building official has a little bit more limits or access, I guess, than code. But from our standpoint, I can only go to a sidewalk. If the gate's open, I can go to the front door. So we're limited because it would be trespassing just like it would be for you.
Understood. And then my question to the assistant city attorney: in the past, we had this same scenario pop up again in open quorum, where when we make a motion to condemn, there's like a whole another 30 days or 60, depending on that 29-day meeting rule that they have to respond, then another 30 to 60, 90. So I just want to be clear with the rest of the board. In past, we've had this happen where we wait to make a motion, 60 days goes by, then we make the motion, but it's 29 days to the next meeting, so 59 days go by, and then we get a letter saying we're working on getting a structural engineer as of 5 days ago, then another 120 days go by.
So it gets drug out and drug out.
And then the city ends up spending $6,000, $7,000 mowing the yard and making these meetings over it. So it sounds like y'all have given them a lot of notice, but that said,
Well, so the shortest time period to get any kind of resolution then would be December 3rd to ask for?
Like Steve mentioned, that's when you could ask for the condemnation. Again, there's a process for us. We do currently have, I believe, well, it has to be approved. We have a demolition contractor that has to be approved at the city commission meeting. Hopefully it's going to be at the November city commission meeting to get approval for a contract with the demolition contractor. If that's approved, then we will have to have them come in, give us estimates before we can't move forward without an estimate from the contractor.
and is it safe to assume this property is not going to get more weathered or damaged in the next 60 days? So if we are in fact kind of going along with the recommendation of staff, 60 days from now, the condition of the property, assuming nothing happens to it, your opinion of staff's likely not going to change, that it is still salvageable, correct?
That is likely correct, yes, sir.
So we're going to be back here in 60 days going against the opinion of staff if we make a motion to tear it down regardless.
I'm not about the motion to tear it down yet. I'm not there yet, so. I mean, I know you are, but I'm not.
I understand. That's a good thing of having a board, though.
Yeah.
So the question to the city attorney, I made a motion for condemnation. Is that inappropriate that we make that motion at this board meeting?
Yeah, at this point, you wouldn't be able to move to do that. We do have to give them the time and the due process in order to respond. So at this point, you can make the motion in the affirmative to accept staff's recommendation for the January date for the next hearing, or you can make a motion to accept staff's recommendation, however, setting the date for a December meeting to come back.
Which I had already started the motion for January 22nd.
If there was a motion and a second, we can vote on that. If it gets shot down, you can make a new motion, and then you could pick another date.
But again, we're limited to what motions we can make. We can either accept staff's recommendation, or we say to have another meeting in December, correct?
Correct. We're discussing which date, the December or the January at this point.
Why are we taking November off the table?
Thanksgiving.
Because of Thanksgiving.
That's where the December 3rd comes in.
Oh,
We have to go by when this room is available because we have to be recorded. So at
Feel
this
like the
point,
tails.
to my knowledge, the room is pretty much booked for, that's why the calendar is done a year, basically a year in advance.
I guess my frustration here, and I'm not trying to be unlevel-headed, but tonight's as important to me as Thanksgiving. At least Thanksgiving's not a work day. I can run over here and meet, and it's a day off. We're here tonight to look at a property that we really can't make any opinion or vote on other than say we'll talk about it in 30 days or 120 days. That was the point of this being on the agenda tonight?
So the property owner obviously has their property rights. They have to get official notice that this meeting has happened and that there's been a recommendation so that they have a time to potentially cure or not. But that's part of the due process. The other thing that's working along the calendar is the time notice required to inform that property owner. So even if Barb's team gets it out tomorrow, it's 30 days from tomorrow to make sure that notice is proper.
Again, I'm trying to understand here. I get that. But what was the point of this being on the agenda tonight? If we cannot do anything but accept staff's recommendation or talk about it next month, how did it make it on tonight's agenda for this board?
Because we feel that it does need to be addressed, and that's why it's before this board. I could have chosen to take it to the code enforcement board or the special magistrate, and it would be probably strung out even longer. So we decided to recommend that it come to your board so you could help us move it along faster.
I move to accept the recommendations by code enforcement and that we discuss this or make a decision on January 22nd, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Paul here.
Yes.
Heidi Hales Walker.
Yes.
Francis Dalton.
Nay.
Bob Warner.
Yes.
Randolph McKnone.
Yes.
Nick Schultz.
Yes.
Mary Fikert.
Yes.
The motion carries. It says here to read this after each motion is approved. It says the respondents are further ordered to contact the code inspector to verify compliance with this order and to also be aware that the respondents have the right to appeal the order when it comes out within 30 days. Any violation of the same code by the respondent within 5 years from the date of this order shall be treated as a repeat violation, of which a fine up to $500 per day may be imposed.
Actually, that's for special magistrate and code board. We should have taken that off, sorry.
Oh, well.
Unfortunately, you all can't fine.
Okay, so I'm not going to say that anymore.
But they do need to contact us.
Now, I do have a question. Is it too late to talk at all about what we just had, the case we just did, because we made a motion, that's it, it's done, it's time to move to the next one?
Correct. Should have
Okay.
deliberated during that time.
Okay. It was more, I guess, a procedural question I had.
Feel free to ask a procedural question in general.
Okay. How much discussion can you have amongst board members to steer a motion?
So as chair, one of the things I've seen is a chair can go around and have each person speak once, go down, up and down the line, and then start again. So everybody gets to respond to someone else's comment. Typically after 2 rounds, that's when you'd cut it off and ask for a motion.
Okay. All right, we have another new case here, BLD 000022-2025, 1408 Southard Street.
Okay, so this property is 1408 Southard Street. Case number is BLD-000022-2025. This property is zoned R2 Single Family Residential. Violation cited as Article 10, Section 26-796. On May 19th, 2025, during a site inspection by Beverly Abrahamson, Code Compliance Officer and New Smyrna Beach Fire Marshal, it had been reported that the interior of the building had a fire, and so there's some interior damage to the property. With discussion with building official Steve Woodworth, it was recommended to bring this before the Building Trade Board. On July 25th, 2025, a notice of determination and a notice of hearing was mailed, certified mail to the property owner, with giving them 30 days from the mailing date to complete an application for repairs to the property or to demolish the structure. A copy was also posted on the property on July 26, 2025. Certified mail has not yet been accepted by the property owner. The hearing on September 25th, 2025, which was the initial hearing mentioned in the original notice of hearing, was canceled due to not having enough members to have a quorum to hold that meeting. A new notice of hearing for the October 23rd, 2025 hearing was sent certified mail with the copy of the notice of determination. Mail was certified mail on October 1, 2025 was the date that it was mailed. The property was also posted. The certified mail, once this certified mail as well, has not been accepted by the property owner. So again, today I went by the property. We also have an open code case on this to get the exterior of the property cleaned up. They have gone over, they've mowed, they have removed some of the outside debris. There's no file or no information on file for permits as of today. So this one again, staff's recommending that the board give Judy Lynn Conrad or entity 60 days to obtain the permits to make necessary repairs or to demolish the property, which again, this structure, and Steve can testify that I believe it's rehab. They can definitely save it. We have had contact by a very close friend of the property owner. She is elderly. From what this close friend has indicated is that it's possibly family members that were squatting in this home that caused the damage to the home of this elderly person. So that's why again, due process and everything comes into play, but that's another reason we're hoping that the friend will try to lead her through the permitting process and maybe get a contractor on board with her and help her through the process. And Steve can come up and testify on what he's witnessed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Again, for the record, my name is Steve Woodworth. I'm the building official in New Smyrna Beach. I'm a Florida licensed building official, plans examiner, and building inspector, and IC certified property maintenance inspector. I was presented this case by the fire marshal's office after there was a fire in the northwesterly section, which would be the back of the home. It was I'm at a loss to words. It's a breezeway or an attached storage shed of some variety. That's where the fire was contained and stopped in that area. The rest of the home has significant smoke and water damage as a result of that fire. The structure itself does not pose a threat to passersby or the general public, but it is not currently habitable. The property was observed on all four sides and just briefly inside that one room where the fire took place, and I did not enter the rest of the building. The building, like I said, is currently secure, all the doors and windows in place. There are no broken doors or windows. The walls and roof do not appear to be listing or unstable in any way. And this is a case of trying to motivate the property owner to rehabilitate the building and thus improve the overall not so blighted look of the neighborhood. It is a nice neighborhood. That's it. Questions?
I saw a car in the front. Is there somebody in the house now?
That property has been vacant at the time that
Okay.
I was there, and
Okay.
and as well as the follow-up inspection. I do believe that car parked in front is part of the code case they have in nuisance abatement. That's correct?
Oh, okay, okay.
Does it have electric on it?
It does not. Yes, I'm afraid I did not mention that. Utility services are not connected to that building at this time.
You said the doors and windows are intact. The picture that shows that fire damage, is that access into the house that's remaining open?
That is access into that shed-type storage room that is on the back side of the house. And that door, in fact, is still serviceable and closed and locked at the end of my inspection there.
Okay.
You can see it just to the right side of that photo.
Okay.
So let me just clarify, because if I'm understanding your question, you're wanting to know if that is part of the actual house living area, or is that just storage?
I think my question was just, is that, again, it's kind of the same thing as Frank was saying about the other property, is a safety issue for the kids in the neighborhood? Like, is the house able to be closed
In my
up
opinion, it
and-
was not a safety issue to passersby or people that would not deliberately try to trespass or break into that property.
Okay.
Given the immense similarity between structures, I think it's reasonable. City staff is the same opinion. This house is certainly more sound being of a masonry or CM unit.
It is certainly more sound being a masonry house with a terracotta tile roof. The house needs a rehab, a remodel. It is not habitable at this time. With that being said, no action is taken by the property owner to improve this facility, which is why we brought it before you today.
I think
And
this
let the
board-
record show that there's no representatives from the owners here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Again, given the similarity between the two properties, I'm going to make a motion, we extend the same courtesy and extension as we did on the previous one. Looks like,
I second that.
Just as the chair, if you want to continue, if there's any other comments prior to the motion, just to give other people the opportunity. Otherwise, if everybody has spoken, has asked the questions they have, we can
Any
continue
board
with the
members
motion.
have any discussion that they
Yes,
want to?
Just real quick, what was the recommendation of staff?
The staff recommends allowance of 60 days to permit the rehabilitation of the structure.
Okay.
And that would be like the January 22nd date then?
Yes, sir.
can I ask why the recommendation is from staff on this one is to give 60 days and move forward, but on the other, can't be that, sorry. Never mind, strike that.
I have a question. When was the fire?
The exact date escapes me, sir, but it was in the spring of 2025. It was, my follow-up inspection was on July 23rd, so it was probably at the end of May, and I can get that information. I'm afraid I don't have it right now.
Okay.
So did the city attorney, assistant city attorney, have made a motion? Can we run through that, or do I need to repropose the motion?
Again,
Well,
if the
I was
question
going to
comes-
say one more thing. You know, for me personally, when owners don't show up or ignore the, not summons, but whatever the order is to, for their case, I would rather see things happen sooner rather than later. Just like the last case, you know, there was, well, the January 22nd date is recommended, but if there is a December 3rd date, I mean, for me, it would be more preferable. It's not that I would not vote yes because the date is wrong, but still sooner to me is on these types of cases is better than later.
So you and I could not be more parallel on this, but unfortunately in the last motion, it was brought up that I requested November and that was completely stymied. So again, with the similarity of these two cases and this being a public record, I can't, I mean, I would warn anybody on this board to get behind doing anything differently on this one. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think these derelict properties, and when we're dealing with owners that are vacant, and again, this stimulates back to the first time I sat on this pulpit and we asked staff, you know, what posture do you take? And they said, we give every chance. We work with these homeowners. One side of this decision-making process has to be swift and the other one's gentle. And unfortunately, I completely see staff's point and recommendations here. And I mean, it stinks to take a piece of property that we all know we could go over on the weekends and fix up. But I'll have no fear, like the amount of guilt anyone on this board would have if a little kid goes into one of these houses and gets hurt. They are vacant, derelict properties, and I think extending them out in any way, shape, or form is offensive to our community. But considering this as public record, and we just extended that courtesy on a similar loss with a more sound structure, I think it's prudent we follow with the same motion on this particular item.
All right. Well, if no one else has anything to say, can we have a motion?
I'll reintroduce my motion to extend the same courtesy on this one, move this to December, what was the meeting? January 22nd. And rightfully so, give the owners the same opportunity to respond, and if not, we'll take city staff's recommendation at that meeting.
And a second?
I second.
Paul Hare,
Yes.
Heidi Hales Walker,
Yes.
Francis Dalton,
Yes.
Bob Warner,
Yes.
Randolph McNown,
Yes.
Nick Schultz,
Yes.
Mary Fikert.
Yes.
The motion carries. Was the last meeting actually January 25th, 2024?
Yes, sir.
That's great.
So it's almost been 2 years?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And and just under some updates on, like under.
That's
just
what I was
under
going to ask
staff.
for next.
So several of the properties that were before you prior to that time, the 702 South Myrtle, that place, I don't know if anybody's been by it. It turned out to be a great project. It's
Nice.
beautiful. The property, I believe, at 620 North Duss, the old
Yeah.
Aretha Bell home, that property has been sold. The structure has been removed, and I'm not sure what the future plans are for that, but that property is now cleared. They're maintaining the lot until they decide what they want to do with their future project. So the effort of the board does work out. I don't want anybody to think that we're here just to keep extending. We do like to give the property owners an opportunity to rehab or demolish. We like to give them that decision. But there are a lot of good things that do come out of the board. It is unfortunate a lot of times that they're carried on, several months or whatever. We run into it with every board that's in the city because there's due process. Sometimes the permitting takes longer than you think it's going to take. They submit a permit, maybe they're going to need a drawing that they didn't include in the permit. There's a lot of scenarios that come into play. So I just want to share that information with everybody. We appreciate everything you do. Unfortunately, we're sorry that we haven't had you back. A lot of the properties that we have had before you have sold, whether it's been at auction or just the people decide to sell. They've sold, they've been rehabbed. Some of the ones that we get ready to bring to you, have Steve chasing all over the city a lot of times. And before they even make it to this board, somebody comes in and buys it, and they rehab the property. So it's not, your effort isn't worthless. We appreciate everything that you do, and unfortunately, it is a long process.
No, thank you for the comment. I want to be abundantly clear. I applaud and commend city staff. I think this is exactly how it should be balanced. You have to deal with these people. I think you all show them a lot of compassion and a lot of extension and open-mindedness in the communication. I believe that for this board to be effective, we have to be able to sit here and know if it got to this floor, there's a darn good reason. There is a reason we didn't have a meeting for almost 2 years, because this board is effective. But if we get back to where everything's an extension, I feel as if we are going to have, it gets around. We're all from this town, and if they think they can walk in here and say, I got to talk to an engineer today, can you give me 90 days? And then my concern is what the financial impact is to the constituents of the city with the constant visits, the constant maintenance. Silly as it is as a business owner, the paper that we passed around, the DPIs and the ink, that was probably $5 worth of printed paper to look at. It gets very expensive to extend. So if anything I said came off like there's not an abundant amount of respect for staff and your position on things, it was held wrong. But I think this board needs to be clear about what its power is, and we're still kind of in the midst, even from 2023, trying to find out from the county exactly how far we can extend. So wheels of progress move slow, but 3 years is real slow.
Good evening. If y'all don't mind, I'll just take a minute because a lot of you are new to me and I am new to probably to many of you. Again, hello, welcome, and I just wanted to thank you, and I wanted just to offer an opportunity if any of the board members had any questions as far as the technical aspects of the inspections or review that go into presenting these cases. I'm happy to provide that information. Again, I don't go to a property with anything in mind other than safeguarding the constituents of the city. If, in my opinion, that there was a real risk to the health and welfare and safety of either the building occupants or passersby of the general public, I would not be in favor of such extended timelines. In the two cases we heard tonight, I really did feel as though those buildings could be rehabilitated into something useful for the city. So that's why I made the recommendations I did. But it's not that way in every case. And I do appreciate the opportunity at a different date to present things for expeditious action. And I would hope that you would appreciate my position in trying to do that safeguarding aspect, and believe that if it was a nuisance, if it was a hazard, if it was something I felt strongly about, I would vehemently project my views of expeditious action, and I would not be in favor of such lengthy timelines. But again, thank you for coming. I appreciate y'all's time, and if you had any questions for me, I'd be happy to address them.
Steve, I just have to say, we appreciate what you do because we know it's not easy.
Thank you.
I have a procedural question about the board. So these two cases, like you said, a lot of times they get, if we gave them 90 days, somebody either responds, takes care of the issue, or somebody purchases the property, and then the January 27th meeting would then just be off the board because there wouldn't be any cases to be heard. Is that correct? Is that why it goes sorry, I'm new to the board too, so it's.
Yes, if they come in and apply for a permit and it's
Yes.
going through the rehab, they're getting their permits and moving forward with rehabbing the building.
Yeah.
That's correct. We would not bring it back here
Okay.
unless they let the permit default. If it defaults, then we can bring it back as a second hearing and have a motion made on the default of the permit.
Okay, so if these two matters got resolved and there was no new matters to present, we just wouldn't have a meeting on January 27th? Okay.
Correct, but I'm sure there's other stuff out there now.
Yep,
You know, there was a lapse because, like I said, honestly, a lot of the properties that were starting to fall down have been bought. A lot of them have been demolished. A lot of them have habitat homes that are being built on those lots. So I think a lot of people, and this is just my own personal opinion from being in code for so many years, I think there's people that go around looking for our notices being posted on properties, and then they dig into the property owner information and make offers. Matter of fact, a couple of the ones neighboring to the one that we brought tonight, I know there's some action being taken that people are trying to purchase those, and it's because they seen that we were going to go in and mow. So there's people that go around and watch for this kind of activity. They watch the tax deed auctions that come up, and they go in and scarf them up to try to prevent code liens and all that stuff. But yes, we could bring it back if the permit goes into default.
I do have two follow-up questions, not pertaining to these properties specifically, but first one being to the Assistant City Attorney. I think with the newer members on here and even having been on this board for 3+ years, I think it would be prudent we get a new opinion from you on exactly what the authority of this board is. In my 3 years of being on it, it's been the potentially condemned home board. We've done very little with building and trades other than talking about being more involved. So I would like to know, and I think we should all refresh, but this board was originally postured when a building contractor feels one way, the city feels another way, and we're here to help with trades, what things may, I know there was a very in-depth conversation in 2023 about maybe some type of inspections could be done with photographs like air conditioners or MEP and mechanical, and that could help speed up the congestion in the building department. And I don't know, and I could be wrong, has anyone on this board, or has this board historically ever dealt with anything except for condemning a home or a home being torn down or being extended until it finally gets torn down?
That's primarily the role of the board, is to vote on condemnations in different cases that come up, and it's usually things in houses that are in dilapidated condition. There have been a couple of cases I remember in years previous where it had to do with flooding on adjacent properties from things and like heights of fences and things like that, but that's been like only a few cases. Yeah. So most of it has been like condemnations and things like that.
Hi, if I may. This board is the New Smyrna Beach Board of Appeals for contractor disputes with the city. It certainly has that jurisdiction, and if a contractor did not like my opinion on a finding of an inspection, a finding on a plan review, or my interpretation of the building code, he could certainly get on the agenda and argue his case or her case in front of this board, and this board could pose a ruling on that. It hasn't happened since I've worked here in 8 years, but that's a main function of this board. So yes, Mr. Dalton, you're correct in that. It was also repurposed into the condemnation board after the are you familiar? You probably are, that once upon a time, each jurisdiction did its own contractor registry and licensing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That has since been preempted by the state with the DBPR. So we don't do that here locally anymore. Everybody that is state licensed, Volusia County is now out of that business as well. They do not register or license local contractors anymore. So we leave that up to the state, and those are the two kind of responsibilities left of this board. I don't know, and again, we'll refer to the city attorney, if this board wanted to create an ordinance about the allowance of virtual inspection or some other building or related inspection. I believe they certainly could provide an opinion to city commission for local ordinance.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is like previously, that was a mention. I recall you and Gary speaking about just the volume of permits, and it was discussed in other municipalities how on some items that are remove and replace, that photographic documentation supports it for, especially I remember it circling around water heaters, mechanical items like air conditioners, doors that didn't require any siding. And at the time, I think it was Kerry, was assistant city attorney, was going to reach out at the request of staff to see if we were allowed to make that opinion. And I mean, that's something I see as a value add if we're freeing city staff up to be able to not be congested.
If the board recommendation wasn't something that was already handled by Florida Building Code directly, as an example, the board can't say that in New Smyrna Beach, we're going to build our single-family residential out of paper mache and duct tape. So we can't openly violate code, but if you want to do something to enhance and to propagate, like I'll use virtual inspection, there is no law, rule, or ordinance statute that I'm aware of that says a local municipality can't accept by local ordinance or resolution the ability for virtual inspection.
That's helpful. So I guess city attorney will probably have to answer that. but I want your input here, like I'm asking in open quorum for a reason. To the city attorney, how would we make a recommendation to, at very least, maybe if the recommendation was like to allow staff or the head building official to advise us, but for a water heater permit, an air conditioner change out of same kind and quality, like all of those require physical inspections currently, correct?
Yes, currently New Smyrna Beach does not do any virtual inspection at all.
And total horseshoes and hand grenades. If I file a building permit tomorrow to change out a water heater, what's the timing as a homeowner? Or
Sure.
what's the timing for that permit to be issued?
Currently, in on or around probably 5 days.
And then to inspect it
It'll be the next day.
next day?
So you can't get any instant permits?
There is no such thing as an over-the-counter permit currently in the city of New Smyrna Beach.
Is there anywhere in the state of Florida, period?
Ooh, I can't comment on what other jurisdictions do.
But that helps us because then we
But
can ask.
during our process is not instantaneous. When we went to 100% digital, I guess. And again, I know some of y'all know this, but once upon a time you could go into the permitting office, fill out a paper permit, give them a check, and get a permit. Well, now, just because we've gone to the online process, you put it in the computer stockpiles everything from one day. At the turn of the clock on midnight, it drops everything into the next day. So when we come in, all of that stuff that's happened up till midnight is actually processed the next day.
So
So the best you can do would be the next day, and that would be if nobody was in line in front of you.
So when you guys come in my brain, I'm trying to envision, you come in on a Monday morning and there's 30 permits.
Sure.
And 19 or 20 of them are 6,000 square foot houses, and the 21st one is a water heater. Is someone physically have to go through and pick and choose which one gets expedited, or does that water heater permit have to wait until the other
Or
one?
is it literally first
The
come,
permits are
first
always
served?
processed in the order received, and that is not a law, rule, or ordinance. That has just been, since I've worked here, a long-standing office policy. And speaking to that though, I do know other jurisdictions do offer expedited permitting.
Yeah, so I was visiting with my Uncle Wes recently. He's a 38-year fire marshal, and he's now a political science major. And in their municipality, it's not in Florida, if you send a receipt for a water heater from Home Depot, you go on, you send the receipt as the homeowner, you pay $63, and the permit's paid for. You take pictures of it, and you send it. I don't got a thing for water heaters here. I'm using it as an example. I just feel like,
I think Frank needs a new water heater is what he's
yeah, right?
Water heater is a good example, because that is it's a fairly easy weekend project for a homeowner, and it's a fairly easy change out for a licensed contractor. So that's a good example. And the problem is though, by doing it that way, you take on a certain amount of onus when you sign off as the building official that, to the best of your knowledge, that water heater has been installed to code. So without any, I get a receipt, I get a check, I get you a permit, have I done my job? Have I earned my money?
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what Frank is saying, is there a use for this board that could bring issues like a water heater or a process that would make it easier for you in the building department?
Certainly. And again, I don't know the legalese of how that is exactly accomplished. I don't think this board can adopt an ordinance.
Yeah.
But this board could certainly draft some language or ask that staff draft language that the board could use to bring to the city commission. And again, I don't know why any of that would be, against any rule.
So doing what I do for a living, I look at 10,000 insurance claims a year, and they all have construction related to them. And out of that 10,000, 6,000 of them are in Florida. Very few in Volusia County. And I gotta say, the processes I see for re-roofs, air conditioner change out, doors and windows, differs vastly throughout the state. And I see your point, but I also think peer-to-peer, if you're talking to a building official from Boca, you would probably respect the same licensing and credentialing. And there are municipalities galore that are doing these types of what I would say maybe progressive or innovative permitting. And it works, it seems to work phenomenally. The other thing is I recall sitting in here quite frequently hearing cases that are brought, and at the time, the building department was just so stressed trying to find inspectors and this and that there was an immense amount of backup. So yeah, to springboard upon what Mr. Schultz was saying, rather than every meeting being like, tear it down, don't tear it down, bye, maybe we spend a little bit of time, newly refreshed year, looking at things that we could do to benefit this process to also to serve the desires of staff.
Sure. I mean, I love this interaction right now. I mean, I'd like to get to know all you guys better. It's can't be a bad thing.
Steve, I remember the previous building official talked about bringing cases to the board about unlicensed contracting or permitting without work without a permit and stuff like that, but we've never seen any cases.
The work without permitting is being taken care of at the special magistrate. Unlicensed activity is a very good question, and I'll share with you what I know, but please don't take it as gospel. When we lost the ability to register and issue contractors' licenses for our local jurisdiction, I believe we also lost the ability to regulate said licensed construction. We are no longer the issuing authority. The issuing authority comes at the state level from the DBPR. So if you were to prosecute an unlicensed or under-licensed activity, that would be the venue for that case.
The wisdom you have just saying under-licensed activity just speaks volumes for your education, because we have so much of that happens in the state, and people focus on licensed and not licensed. The thing that I see frequently that just drives me bonkers, Port Orange, 4 squares or less, you're a roofer. Boca, 7 squares or less, you're a roofer. Porto Escon, wherever, Florida, 1 tile, you're an unlicensed roofer. And those are at the discretion of the building officials, as long as it's not a complete system. And I think after storms and during heavy rains, when we see the people have the ability to go up and patch that 500 square foot area or 200 square foot area, whatever staff belt's warranted, I think that also takes away a lot of the hush-hush in New Smyrna, where people sneak around on the weekends and try to do repairs because they don't know what they can and can't do. And the process is it can be a little, especially to a younger home buyer, it can be a little overwhelming when they're like, man, if I go and ask if I can fix my roof and I'm told no, then I'm stuck putting a whole new roof on. So I think maybe if we took some time to learn from you about some of those things, but knowing in other municipalities that is at the discretion of the head building official to allow that, that's also something that might be worth exploring.
Yeah, I would never be in favor of a homeowner not safeguarding their health and property by closing up their roof.
Right.
Can a homeowner pull a permit for their hot water heater?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
To be clear, though, a homeowner must be an individual. It cannot be an entity. You may own your home, but you own it in a business name under an LLC. An LLC, it must be an individual person. It can't be an LLC, an HOA,
Right.
any other homeowning entity.
And does it have to be homesteaded for the
It does not.
homeowner?
It
No?
does not.
No.
Okay.
It has to be your home for your use. There is a caveat to that as well. You will be required to sign an affidavit that you will not sell or lease your property that you have improved for the time of 1 year. By doing so, that would be a violation of 489, the contracting laws, and they would think that you've improved the property in order to sell it. So you're selling your construction work that you're not licensed for. So it gets, I mean,
A year from your final inspection or a year from the purchase of the home?
a year from final inspection, year from close of permit.
And is there any discretion to the building official, hypothetically, if someone pulled a permit, worked on their house, and then they get transferred in the service to Germany and they have to sell their home? Is it the discretion of staff or the building official to be able to
It
override that?
wouldn't be at the local discretion. Again, it would, you're signing an affidavit to say you're not intending to violate Florida statute 489. I believe it's 48953, but.
So it's probably got verbiage in there about,
It, again, because we don't issue contractor's license locally,
sure.
we don't prosecute that activity locally. We're just having the homeowner sign that affidavit and get it notarized that they've been aware of the law, and if they then violate that law, they've done so knowingly with that knowledge.
How many current building inspectors does the building department have, yourself included?
I have 5 currently.
5?
Yes, sir.
And if you had to guess how many open building permits there are currently in the city?
Open building permits, I don't know, a couple of thousand.
1,000. And that would include everything from fixing a front door to building a house type thing?
Sure.
Okay. And daily, how many inspections do those 5 inspectors on average inspect?
Typically, we get between 100, about 100 to 120 requests.
A day?
Yes, sir.
Holy cow, by 5?
Yes, sir.
How do you guys get to them all?
As expeditiously as we can, sir.
So with this affidavit you spoke about that people sign in that scenario of the water heater and you signing off on it, is there also an affidavit a homeowner could sign to say they would install it to the proper code?
Not that I'm aware of.
But there's an affidavit for like windows to say you're using a current hurricane window?
That affidavit is that you're going to use a product that has been approved for the use in state and Florida, typically referred to as Florida product approval.
Okay.
And yeah, that is an affidavit. But even when you get that inspection done, you
Still
have to
verify.
produce the paperwork that shows that it's a product that's been approved in Florida.
Is that affidavit form something we in New Smyrna created, or is that created by the DBPR?
I believe it was a local creation, sir.
Okay. So there's probably some room to find some areas that might help relieve that 5 to 100 ratio a day. It's like my brain says like a fence, right? They bring in a survey, and if you inspect the fence the day after it's installed or 780 days later, it's still the same exposed fence. I'm not talking about letting people like put stuff inside a wall and conceal it, but my brain just goes to something like, I have friends that are air conditioning people, not like see them a lot anymore. And their thing was they would never do condenser change outs because they would spend all the profit waiting for the inspection. So they just didn't do them. And now you have all these old folks or fixed income or young folks that only have the choice to buy a whole brand new system because nobody would do a condenser swap out. And I'm just using that as a complete simile, but I remember hearing that conversation frequently 15 years ago.
And I don't mean to be argumentative, but I've never heard of a contractor not changing out a compressor due to a lack of inspection staff.
Yeah, and again, it was 15 years ago. I literally remember the
I
conversation.
hope that's not the case locally, sir. I mean, we get the inspections done the following day after they're requested.
Got it. Well, it was very informative. I would like the city attorney, if he gets the chance, to let us know what the extent of even if it's just like, hey, Frank, here's the docket or whatever, just what the full authority of this board is, so we can be effective here.
Yeah, happy to follow up on that. The other thing is you can work with city staff. You know, here's an idea, here's a best practice, something like that. If it does come to the point where there's a recommendation you'd like to make to city commission, that's something that, again, the board votes on. Everybody says, yes, these are the kinds of things we think city commission could direct staff to do, take these measures, do these things. So you could always make a recommendation like that.
I mean, just to put a pin in that, yeah, contact me. That's fine. I'm open to that. But just so y'all know, My view of city staff role is to work at the caveat of the commission. I do not ever want to be responsible for generating or dictating policy as one person. That's just not good business.
Sure.
But if y'all want me to look into something or provide me with an idea of improvement, I'm happy to consider it.
I mean, I guess in closing, is there anything that the building department currently inspects? I mean, just one thing that you could be like, that actually may be worth doing photograph or virtual inspection, or is there just across the board nothing?
I'd have to spend some more time thinking about it. I am so kind of ingrained and indoctrinated as in-person inspections because that's all I've ever done. I would ask that I'd have more time to consider it.
But I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, what Frank is saying, something like the roof in progress, like how that inspection works, where you're submitting an affidavit with photo documentation instead of having to leave a roof open and have an inspector come out and wait.
Okay, I can address that.
If there were another scenario where that same type of thing
Sure.
could be beneficial, and if there were a scenario where this board could help in implementing that, I think that's
Right,
maybe.
but
what-
No, that's exactly it.
you bring up an excellent point. And I don't know how it was done previous to getting here, but the former building official, Gary, would not want the roof left open. So the sheathing nailing was not done in person. That got made to do via photographs and affidavit. So the roof can get closed, that at least can get dried in that day, no question. So yeah, I'm happy to entertain anything like that.
That's why I asked. I don't know what I don't know, like drywall. When someone drywalls a room, are they allowed to take pictures of the screw pattern, or do you have to wait and get an inspection for?
For plain old drywall,
Yes, sir.
no, you don't even inspect it, sir. There is not a drywall screw inspection unless it's part of a fire rated assembly.
I remember, so some time ago, I did a room addition on my house, and I built it myself. And I had to get, again, I'm just going off memory. It was like I had to have one inspection for framing, electric, and I forgot to call, that's what it was, my ignorance. I did not know I needed to call in an installation inspection. So I had to wait 3 days for them to come back and see the exact same room that they had taken photographs of on Tuesday. My fault. But when I hear things like that, and it's like, man, it sounds like framing, electric rough, and insulation really is kind of one, but then they're set 3 separately. So that's what I'm saying. It sounds like I argue for a living, and I think sometimes that comes off like I'm like trying to be argumentative. I'm actually trying to be helpful. Like, is there anything in the building code you look at and you go, this just is moronic. It makes no sense.
No, I'm not gonna hang myself. No.
All right.
Even if
That's
there's
actually a
something
good
I don't
example.
understand, I assume that people that either had more knowledge or better intentions than I put it there for a reason.
But like in that scenario, is it our staff's decision to say framing, electric rough, and insulation is all one inspection instead of it being 3 separate inspections, so it gets done at the same time?
Sure.
And is that currently the case?
Yes, absolutely. And you have the wherewithal and ability to schedule your framing, your plumbing rough, your electric rough, and insulation all at the same time, and they can be all performed by, I think, any one of my multi-licensed inspectors all at the same time.
Do you have inspectors out of the 5 that some can only inspect certain things and others can only inspect certain things?
Only in the commercial trades.
Okay. That's logistically got to be challenging to keep track of.
Oh, it is, but again, I would never encourage a contractor to work outside of their license, and I would
Sure.
never encourage an inspector to inspect outside his license. So, as an example, currently I'm the only commercial electrical inspector. When Gary retired, we lost our other one. So, that's the way the cookie crumbles. One day we'll hire an electrician that can be a commercial electrical inspector, but this is just how it is.
Understood. Well, it's been a fun exploring event tonight.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question to the building chief. How would you keep from getting the same photo over and over for your inspections?
How we handle it with the roofing sheathing inspection as an example, the first photo that we get is going to be a copy of their permit placard down on that roof. And then if they want to cheat the rest of them, I guess they're, taking the moral low ground, but that's how that's handled.
I see a lot of these from the insurance side. It'd be pretty hard to ever send, like, it'd be real easy to call it out. It'd be pretty hard to get two pictures that look similar, especially when you're dealing with a smaller inspecting
Right,
department.
I mean, and I've seen it, and I assume it was an error on their part, but I mean, when you get a picture of a hip roof and you can look at Google and see it's a gable roof, no, we're not gonna accept these, and it does happen. But
Would that be
that's how we
something-
regulate it. The first picture that we get has the picture of the permit placard with the address, the permit number right there on property.
So would that be something your inspectors do, look at Google?
Well, actually, those images for those inspections are reviewed by myself. So yes, I confirm that they are sending me pictures of the correct property.
Okay.
Locked doors only keep honest people honest.
Right.
I mean, yeah, if anybody is like really trying to cheat on an inspection, whether it's an in-person or a virtual, they can find some pretty original ways of doing it. But I mean, I don't know, I guess they feel it's part of the game.
It's like when I told my wife I wasn't fishing.
Any other items to discuss? Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
No?
You can adjourn and just state the
Okay.
time.
Motion to
We're good.
adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.